Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new Maximum Inc. Music Magazine video podcast. I'm Teri Barr. Join me in welcoming Matt DeBlass. Yay!
Hey,
Hi.
everybody.
It is so great to have you here. Thank you for taking time. I know it's a really busy time in your life right now, too. I want to ask you first, though, before we get into some of that, you have
Yep.
been described as someone who plays every instrument and almost every kind of music. I have to hear more about this. This is so fascinating.
That might be a slight exaggeration. I do play a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I started out as a drummer, actually, years and years ago. But then, like, after I left college, dropped out of college, I didn't have a band anymore, so I had to start learning other things because sitting and playing drums without a band was no fun. So I learned some guitar. I learned the Celtic harp. I learned mandolin. Play a little bit of ukulele and banjo and penny whistle. So I play a lot of instruments, but not like I don't play violin. I don't play brass. You know,
But
I'm really bad at piano.
what is really unique in so Matt? What drew you to some of those?
um, well, the actually I got into Irish music. Again, I was a drummer, and I actually and growing up, my dad and my grandma, our family was we were working class Catholic, immigrant family. So there's a little Irish in there, but there's always like Irish music and songs. So it was always in the background. But I discovered the bodhrán, which is an Irish drum. And as a drummer, I'm like, well, this is cool. So I started checking that out, and that kind of was the gateway into the gateway drum into Irish music, and that's like this thing here.
Oh, wow. What is
It's
it?
kind of cool.
You just tap on it a little bit?
Yeah, you play it with kind of this up and down motion.
And
So I
that's
kind of I
something
discovered that.
you want to dance, isn't it? I mean, I always
Yeah, yeah.
everybody wants to dance Irish music.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like if you don't feel like tapping your toes to it, it's you're not doing it right. Um, so yeah, so that kind of led me into like the folk music world and the traditional music world. And like I got into the harp because I saw some maker at a music festival who was selling them, and I just like sat down and started playing with it. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I kind of admit I grew up reading a lot of like fantasy novels and stuff like that. A lot of Tolkien, a lot of you know various other like
Yeah.
high fantasy. So like the idea of like, ooh, the harp, it's really cool. And so I got a little cheapy one and gradually got nicer ones and started getting a little more serious. In the last like 4 years, I've gotten much more serious about it and it kind of became my main instrument. And I've got a full size folk harp, so it's not a big like orchestra one. It's like the Lorena McKennitt harp, if you're familiar with her.
But you're learning this not as a little kid, you're learning this later, and that can't be easy. Not to say we can't all learn instruments anytime, but a harp to me looks like it's pretty hard to
It
play.
so the harp is a generous instrument, I guess is a good way to describe it, because the way it's tuned, it's all the diatonic scale, so it's like the white notes on a piano. So you can't play like an out of tune note, and just kind of noodling around with like some basic stuff can sound really cool. So in that extent, the harps it's easy to make it sound good. When you want to start playing more specific stuff and playing fast stuff or trying to learn some of like the Irish dance tunes,
Yeah,
then it gets a little tricky. And I still like sometimes like oh I can play fast with my right hand or my left hand, but I putting them together still takes a little out of me. But you know.
I give you credit. Now, how did you decide that was kind of the type of music you wanted to go toward? I mean, when you started as a drummer, did you want to do sort of what we all wanted to play, rock or pop or something?
Yeah, well, my first band in high school was like a Ramones cover band, and we played like Ramones and Misfits,
Oh,
and this was in New Jersey in the '90s, and so like the Misfits and Black Flag and stuff. They're like those guys had like played. In fact, I saw the Ramones play in Trenton in like when I was in high school.
the
And,
actual, the four Ramones together.
yeah, 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 or
Um,
yeah, in the mid '90s, in which I just discovered. So the club called City Gardens, which is like kind of a well-known punk club in Trenton, New Jersey, and I realized in Salvatore's Pizza Place on East Wash they have a picture of City Gardens on the wall because they're Trenton. So I went in there finally to check out the new place. I'm like, I've been there.
that's cool.
So that was pretty cool little circular thing. Like as I'm looking to move back to New Jersey soon, uh, like oh yeah, there's a little bit of home right there. But
Yeah.
so I started out with like rock bands and stuff like that, and I grew up. I was a big fan of Led Zeppelin. Uh, got into as a drummer like big into Rush, prog rock, and at some point had a drum kit with way too many drums in my bedroom. And then, like a lot of drummers, as I started actually playing shows with people, the drum kit got smaller and smaller and smaller every time I had to like put it in the car and take it somewhere. Till one.
Oh, it sounds so cool. I don't care. That drum sounds amazing.
Isn't it cool?
Yes, cool.
But yeah. So that was kind of where I started. But the getting into folk music, it was kind of a gradual thing. But again, I grew up listening like Led Zeppelin was a big thing, and they always had like those folky tracks on the B sides and all that. And I always thought they were super cool. And when I and we go on road trips with my dad up to Vermont, and we'd listen to like the Weavers and Pete Seeger and stuff like that. So it was kind of always there, and I kind of just started drifting into it. Again, once I didn't have a rock band, I'm like, well, what can I do by myself? And then and it went there. And the other cool thing about a lot of folk and traditional music is it's all public domain. So there's this whole repertoire of songs that you can play that you don't have to pay royalties on. Uh,
And you can make it sound like it's your own too,
yeah, well, I mean, I joke about the public domain, but part of the real fun about it is it's kind of like playing a game of telephone with the past. Like these songs have been around for 100, 200 years, and as they've been sung and performed by all these different people, there's different versions and different sounds to them, and they kind of change and evolve over time. And when I'm learning a song that I think is really cool, I'll go and I'll look for like two or three different recordings and see how other people have done it and put my own version together out of that because yeah, part of what keeps those songs kind of so lively is that they do change and evolve with time and with different singers and all that. So it's kind of part of the fun of folk music is that it's there, but also you can take it and make it your own, as opposed to it being like a fixed like, well, here's a song I wrote, or here's a cover song, or here's a written down piece of classical composition. It's like, now here's a song that's kind of been floating around for years, and you can pick it up and do what you want with it and put it down, and and somebody else can pick it up a little bit later. And so it's kind of a really cool way, very communal communal and timeless style of playing music.
Well, and you're keeping this beautiful music alive in that way too, rather than it sits there, however many years ago. Here
Yeah.
you are bringing it back and giving it some new life for all of us to enjoy.
On a good day, yeah.
Oh, come on.
So,
See, you're funny too. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, yes, you mentioned you're going to be moving. Now, you've been based in Madison for quite a while, right?
about 7 years now, yeah.
We're so sorry. We love to hog our musicians here in Madison, as you probably learned.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh, we're sorry to back to basically around your home area. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's a big part of the move for me is to be closer to family. I have a daughter who is she's 21 now, and she's occasionally comes out and visits. But I've so doing the midlife career change in addition to playing music, and the pandemic made me think about and reassess a lot of stuff. But I've decided to go back to college and finish my bachelor's degree. So I've been going to
Oh,
school online uh, at Penn State, not UW. Sorry. Uh, um, nothing.
Kevin, don't worry.
Go Badgers, great, that's great. But the program I was looking at was Penn State was what I was had what I was looking for. So I'm going to Penn State online and moving, being closer to family, having kind of cheap rent while I'm working through this and that there's some opportunities. And it's been time. I've been in Madison about 7 years, and it's there's been a lot of stuff going on, and I kind of wanted to be a little closer to the family I have out there.
And family's number one. It really,
Yeah.
it really is. We came back to Wisconsin for family.
Yep. And
Like,
that's, I mean,
and 7 years, I get that. I think ours was about that as well. And you kind of get
yep.
that 7 year itch, time to move on.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the changes with the pandemic
Yeah.
and stuff being shut down, I'm like, it started making me think about. And the last few years, I've had a lot of changes in life. I was working as a bicycle mechanic, and my hands were starting to wear out. So I'm like, I can't keep doing this anymore. I gotta save those for the things that matter to me, and
Absolutely.
and so yeah.
Thing, you're going to be well show. I hate to even say it, but that is coming up this weekend. How can everybody join you and see you and enjoy all of your music?
So the show is going to be at also my second home and kind of my Madison family, the heart of that, Bos Meadery, Bos Mead Hall on East
Award-winning
Washington
Bos
Street.
Meadery, Madison
The
Area Music
award winning, the
Association.
multiple award winning Bos Meadery.
Absolutely. Venue of the year once again. That's so
Yeah,
terrific.
yeah, and well deserved because not only is it a great space, but Colleen treats musicians and bands so well. That's, I mean, I started, I when they were in their small space, I went there. Somebody told me, "Oh, there's an open mic at the Mead Hall." I'm like, "What? These two words together, open mic and mead." So I went to check it out and started hanging around and became a regular. Eventually, in addition to playing there all the time, I picked up part-time bartending work there because they really are like family and like Colleen, Jason, Scott, Peter, and like the whole crew there, and plus a lot of the music community based around there is great. And Colleen just does part of her goal, aside from having a tap room to showcase her product, was to create a kind of community center for local music, where it's local bands especially are treated well. They get a good stage and they have a nice experience. Actually get paid a little bit. None of them are getting rich, but there's no like it's you'll get something from the bar and everybody takes care of you and make you feel really appreciated. So it's such a great venue to play at and people enjoy you know see bands there. It's my living room basically. It's like my second home. And so
It's
yes.
a spot for your I'll see you later show then.
Yep. Yep.
Let
So
me
yeah.
quick too about the Madison music scene. Have you enjoyed it? Have you felt embraced? Or has there been struggles? What's it been like for you?
Well, like I mean, like anything else, there's like good and bad. I've built up a lot of friends, and in fact, one of the things when I moved here, I came here originally touring with a band. I was playing mandolin for a band that actually the fellow he's in Baltimore now, but he was originally from Madison, Eli August. So we played a show at the Frequency, and so I played a show at the Frequency as a mandolin player with a band. Met a girl at the show, got on, did the long distance thing for a while, moved out here, and immediately got dumped. Which is apparently about a third of the East Side story how they ended up in Madison. um,
Oh wow.
but by that point I'd found a job. I was working in a bike shop. I was starting to make friends. So I stayed. I'm like, oh, let me stay for a year or two, see what happens.
Yeah.
That was 7 years ago. Um, so I came out here originally as a musician, and one of the things I started doing was, well, let me go find some open mics and find some places to play. So I started making friends within the music community pretty quickly, and that's how I built up a lot of my relationships. And pretty much outside of work, all my friends I made through music.
Yeah.
And so to that degree, yeah, it's definitely been a great social thing and a great a community feeling. Um, Other things though, like when I go to play shows, the gross commercialism side of it, like I will go periodically when I go out to visit, I'd book a bunch of shows out on the East Coast, and I tend to make more money at the shows in the New York and Philly area than I do in Madison. So that's, I mean, which is not an uncommon struggle, and it's not, also Madison's a great city, but there's such huge communities and great folk music communities out along the East Coast. So yeah, there's more of an audience and more money to be made there too. But
Right.
so there's been that a little bit of a struggle, like trying to fit in and being a little bit of a musical oddball where I'm not playing the kind of music that's getting booked in a lot of the bars around town. Um, but I mean, there's stuff. The Cargo Coffee was a great venue.
Oh yeah.
Bos Meadery. Yeah, Cargo Coffee. I would do Sunday afternoons. I'd play the harp for like a brunch, and that was like a perfect fit. The Wild Hog in the Woods Coffee House and some stuff like that. And I actually ended up playing church music for the entire time, which is not something I thought I'd end up doing. But a friend of a friend was like, "Oh yeah, they're looking for someone for a non-traditional service," and I'm like, "And it's a Baptist church," and I'm politically I'm like folk singing bike hippie, so that's my alignment. So I'm like, what kind of Baptist are we talking about?
Oh,
But it turned out to be like a wonderful East Side First Baptist Church community. We're very progressive, very active in the community and stuff. So it was like a wonderful place to play and a wonderful community to be a part of.
and gorgeous
But yeah,
music. Oh,
yeah. And so I started playing mandolin in like the non-traditional, like the contemporary service, and eventually through the pandemic doing services over Zoom. And then I became the choir because we couldn't have a choir.
oh,
So I was standing in the chapel in front of the pipe organ, just singing hymns into the camera for over Zoom, and it's like, whoa, singing with a pipe organ is something like never thought I'd end up there, but it's really cool. And
that
which
had to
also,
be huge. Really, really
yeah,
huge.
oh, it's so great. I mean, it's one
Wow.
thing standing in front of a rock band and singing, but when you've got the like 2-story tall organ pipes around you, it's like, oh yeah.
That's okay. I love
Uh,
that story.
And that definitely made me up my vocal game too. I started taking voice lessons and stuff too, because they'd start sending me, I was a folk singer, and they started saying, "All right, so here's the sheet music for this week." Sheet music for like the singing part. Like, I can read music for instruments, but I never really learned to do it as a singer, and so I've had to, like, over the last year or so, had to really up my vocal game, which has actually been really good for me.
Oh,
But it was an adventure. So parts of the music community. So I've learned a lot. I've developed a lot and made a lot of friends. And found some interesting little niche places to perform. The harp like took me to a lot of places that just strumming guitar and singing folk songs didn't. Um, I do the church music. I do the coffee shops. I do some corporate gigs. I got to play inside Cave of the Mounds a couple times.
oh my goodness.
Because they do their, they haven't done it last, but they did the Valentine's Day thing where they'd have music down inside the caves and all by candlelight. And so I got to play the harp inside Cave of the Mounds by candlelight. And that was a super, super cool gig.
That's
And
great advice right there.
yeah. And
That's
they contacted me about it. They're like, well, how much would you charge to play in a cave? I'm like, I mean, I would almost do that for free, but I'm not going to say that. But I'm like, I don't have a standard playing in a cave rate, but
right. You're gonna have to add that to your billing rates.
right. But it was such a cool space to play in because, like, it was, of course you got the high ceilings, but also like I'd be playing in one end and they're like, oh yeah, down that one spot, like all the way down the other end, it sounds like you're right next to me because of the weird acoustics in there. It's like, so
Wow.
that was a pretty magical experience. So,
Well, if you are enjoying hearing what Matt and I are talking about right now, of course, we mentioned Matt's going away, saying, I like to call it farewell from now.
oh yeah,
That's happening this Sunday night at Bos Meadery in
yep.
Madison. What time does it all get underway, Matt?
It'll be starting 6 p.m. and going till at least 8. 6 to 8 officially at Bos Meadery.
Okay. And how can we keep track of you once you are out of this area? Again, I'm just going to say farewell for now, but I know you have
Right.
a terrific website. And how can we all just kind of keep up with you?
Probably the most active one, most active social media account is my most reliable one for information is the Facebook account. It's Matt DeBlass Celtic Music. Um, Although I have to admit, the social media I've been having the most fun with lately has been TikTok.
Oh,
Uh, I was out visiting, I was out on a little family vacation about a month ago, and I was like, let me see what this is all about. And then I discovered like you can do the duet thing where like if somebody else, and there's a whole little folk music community, if somebody plays a tune, you can do a video and play along with them, and that was it. I was hooked. I'm just like, all right, this is awesome. So I've been, and like here I am, like 40-something-year-old man on TikTok, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna play my music thing and not try to keep up with all the other stuff. But
that's
on the other hand,
other people can't do. So there you go.
yeah, and although my daughter follows me on TikTok, which is and she thinks it's great. So I'm like, I think I've won. my my
Absolutely.
21-year-old daughter, my Gen Z daughter is like, oh, my dad's TikTok's really cool. I'm like, how'd that happen? But I'll take it. I'll take the win.
Oh, well, you
So,
know,
but
is going to miss you. So
yeah.
I want to thank you for everything you've brought to the Madison.
Oh, oh yeah, it's been great. And one of the things I'm kind of proud of that finally got rolling now that I'm leaving, I'd wanted to start an Irish music session geared towards beginners because there are a few in the area here and there, but they tend to be like you have to be able to play really fast to keep up, um, and it's not quite accessible for everybody. And so I started doing a beginner Irish session at Cargo Coffee, and just kind of like a few tunes played at like a really moderate pace, so people who are you have to kind of know a little bit about what you're doing, but you don't have to be like ready for the big leagues. And I started doing once a month, and just started getting enough people joining in, and now it's starting to pick up. And now there's a couple people said, "Oh, now that well, since you're leaving, we'll step in and take over." So I've kind of managed to get a little Celtic music foothold that's going to stay after I'm gone. So
Is
uh,
true. You always hope you can leave something behind,
yep,
whether it's when you move or move on
yep.
in life. And oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Feel so good
So
about
I
that.
think the next one of those is December 4th, and you'll have to check the Cargo Coffee
I will do.
site for information. But I think that'll be great. But yeah, the Mead Hall is home base, and I know Colleen's going to have to go through some renovations, and probably for at least a temporary shutdown this winter because they're building, because of all the development along East Wash and all that. So I already told her, like, all right, when things are settled down and you have like a reopening, let me know, and I'll grab my guitar and hop on an airplane and come come back next year or
I
something.
knew we could count on you to come back.
Yeah, I've got too many friends here to miss out on it entirely. I'll be back.
Well, and since we've talked so much about music, would you mind giving us a little sample of what you bring?
Oh, sure,
Oh,
sure.
good. I'm so glad.
So I got my guitar. I've been a bit of a Scottish music kick lately, and I'm actually considering doing an album, a collection of Robert Burns songs. So Robert Burns, the Scottish songwriter from the late 1700s, very famously wrote Auld Lang Syne and other stuff that we know. Let's see. This is a good autumnal song. It's a fall song called "Now Westland Winds." It's been one of my favorites lately. Now Westland winds, slaughtering guns, bring autumn's pleasant weather. More cock screams, whirring wings among the blooming heather. The waving rain wild on the plain lights the weary farmer. Shines bright as I roll that night to muse upon my charmer. The partridge loves the thistle fell, the clover loves the mountain, the woodcock haunts the lonely dell, the soaring hand the fountain. Lofty crows that cushion rose, half a man to shun it. The hazel bush hangs the thrush, the spreading thorn, the lily. Thus every kind their pleasure find, the savage and the tender. Social join, some leagues combine, some solitary wonder. But upon to we thou cruel sway, tyrannic man's dominion, the sportsman's joy, the murdering cry, the slaughtering gory pinion. Peggy dear, the evening's here, with life's a skimming swallow. The sky is blue and the fields in view are fading green and yellow. Come let us stray our gladsome way, we'll view the charms of nature, the rusted corn, the fruited thorn, every happy creature. We'll gently walk, we'll sweetly talk, the silent moon shines clearly. I'll clasp thy waist and fondly press where how I love thee dear. Nocturnal showers to budding flowers, nor autumn to the farmer. So dear can be as thou to me, my fair, my lovely charmer.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, and just the descriptions of everything.
Oh yeah, it's such a great yeah, it's such a great autumn song because it's all about the harvest time. And this weird like hunting thing in it too, and like all the birds, and so it's such a Yeah, I like that one a lot. So,
And the farmer, of course.
and the farmer, yep, yep. So, and then it's a love song too. It's all like all these beautiful things, but you're even dearer to me than that. So,
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Matt.
oh, my pleasure.
For everyone that wants to come and see you Sunday, starting at 6, there's
Yep,
a sample of what they can expect. And I think
exactly. Yeah,
just from the that it's going to get pretty rowdy and fun on Sunday night. I would
I hope so. I hope it'll be a good send off.
Good for you. Oh, Matt, thank you so, so much. And again, best ways to keep up with you.
Um, so I've got a website, mattdeblass.com.
Yes.
Social media, it's Matt DeBlass Celtic Music, and on TikTok, it's Matt DeBlass Music. So there's probably some other stuff. I have a YouTube and stuff too, but
Okay.
if you go to the Facebook page, you'll find all that.
Excellent. We wish you all the best and do all this stuff and say thank you for being here and for helping grow the scene.
Oh, of course.
It's amazing, and I'm so grateful for the time to chat with us.
My pleasure, Terry. Thank you, and thanks to Maximum Inc. for doing so much for the music community in Madison.
Thank you for saying that. That's very kind. Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll be watching you though, so we'll be watching for when you come back as well. Take care.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll make sure that I don't sneak in unannounced. I'll make sure everybody knows I'm coming.
Yeah, we can, so watch out for
I'm
that.
pretty big. I'm pretty easy to spot. I'm like 6'3", so you can see me when I'm coming.
We'll have a wonderful farewell show, and of course, we wish you very safe and wonderful travels too.
Thank you so much, Terry.
All right, everybody. Matt DeBlass. Thank you, Matt.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Madison.